Hello, everyone. I see everybody logging in. I am Gustavo Tolosa, your host and producer of this online book club that focuses on whole food, plant-based nutrition. And this is the first session of 2021. So I cannot tell you how excited I am to be doing this. I have missed you all, and I see so many of you here. I was able to fly and come to the United States, and I am right now in Dallas. I am at the home of a dear friend of mine, and she's a wonderful lady, and we have attended McDougall programs. She has come to visit me in Argentina, and now I am here at her home and having a wonderful time in Texas. So, hi everyone! I see all of you saying hello, and it's wonderful to see people from all over the United States and really from the world. So I will, today, the reason that we will be covering just one chapter probably is because there's just a few business type things we need to cover because this is the first session. And also I have quite a few new people here and I want to let you know a few details. First of all, of course, that this is the book that we are reading, Own Your Health. You can have the actual book like I have. You may have the electronic version. You may have the audio version. Remember that when you purchase this book, send Glenn a proof of purchase, and in the subject put book club or put Gustavo, and he's going to send you some really good bonus material. I'll tell you about that later. I also want to tell you that this is a free book club, and that just in case you're wondering, no, I am not getting any commissions or any sales. Okay, the only reason I'm telling you to put my name in the subject of the email is so that Glenn will know that you're in the book club and he can send you those bonus bonus material. So I will put here in the screen a little bit a couple of slides that I would like to go over very quickly. There are rules that I think are important to have in a group like this so that we all get the most out of it and that we learn, because we're here to learn. I am sharing with you information that I have accumulated in 7 years of being around many of these doctors and dietitians and chefs, and I would just like to share that information. But we're also here to learn from each other, because many of you have been doing this for a long time, and it's wonderful to learn from each other. And some of you are just exploring and starting. So here are a few rules that I think are helpful to have a coherent group. The first one is honesty, and it's just to be honest about our experience, because we were not judging anyone. So if we ever fall off the wagon, we say it, and we will hopefully be able to encourage and help each other and get on track again. So that's one thing that I put there. The next one is acceptance. We are an accepting group. We don't say, no, if you eat bread, then you can't come to this group. Okay, this is not the kind of group. This is a whole food, plant-based way of eating, that where there are things that we really stay away from it, like highly processed foods, and especially animal food. But there are subgroups, and it's okay for them to exist, but there's other groups where they may not have salt, they may not have any sugar, they may not eat bread. Okay, so we accept us as we are, and we go from there, and we hopefully will come out better after we're done with this book, and then we will go into another book later on. So what's the next is respect. We don't want to have here any disrespectful language. We are all adults, and whenever we make comments, just please make the comment in a nice, respectful way. If not, I will erase it. So I just, I believe in respect very strongly. And finally, patience. We have to know that, again, I have been eating this way for 7 years, and to me, it's a second nature thing. But there may be new people that don't know all the details, and they may ask the same question many times. Let's be patient because there's a lot of information. So, and as you can tell, because I'm a musician, the first letter of each one of these words spells the word harp. And I think that harp is a very harmonious instrument, and here we're going to have harmony in this group. And so for those of you who are new, I thought it would be appropriate to just tell you a little bit about me, because you may be wondering, who is this person here with this accent, okay, talking about this book club? Well, I'm Gustavo Tolosa, originally from Argentina. I have lived most of my life in the United States, and I love this country. I consider it my country. I'm a citizen of this country, and I am also a musician. I'm just going to go back to this. My main passion, I guess, from age 8 has been music. I started studying piano, and I have a bachelor's degree in music, a master's, and a doctorate. You may see my name preceded by doctor. I am not a medical doctor. I know a lot about plant-based nutrition, like Glenn Mercer and Chef AJ and many others, but we are not medical doctors. But I am a doctor in music. So that's why it says Dr. Tolosa. And I have taught at colleges, universities, and performed all over the country. And I've been very blessed and lucky to perform all over the world. And now I perform online because of the situation we're in. And my other passion in life right now, and for the last 7 years or so, is being the whole food, plant-based way of eating, because I believe it truly saved my life. And it was in the year 2012 that I discovered the Living program that Dr. McDougall used to hold in Santa Rosa, California. Now with the pandemic, it's not in person anymore. And I became very good friends with Dr. McDougall, and then actually later on became his weekly webinar host and producer. And for several years, every week on Thursday, we got together. I got to visit with him before the webinar, then we did the webinar, then after the webinar, and that was something just invaluable of all what I learned from him. So I have done webinars with just about every other whole food, plant-based health and person, doctors and nurses and chefs. So that's what I was saying earlier. I just like to share that information with you. All right. So going back here, let's see if I can show you the next slide, which is, let's see here. Okay. This is a free program. A lot of things that you can find on YouTube that I do are free. A lot of things on Facebook are also free. And I'm listing here in this slide ways that if you ever want to help in any way continue with these free programs, I'm just asking you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free, it doesn't cost anything. My YouTube channel is under Gustavo Tolosa, and you will find so much there after all these years. You can also follow me on Facebook under Dr. Starch. And if from time to time you want to purchase one of the cooking demos that I do, sometimes I do a live demo, sometimes I do a recorded demo, that helps. And I'm just inviting you to go and look around my website. It's called GustavoTolosa.com. That's my musician website. And then I have plantemas.com, and that is a website that Dr. Diego Poniman, who is an MD in New York, and myself created to, we started it in Spanish to help the Hispanic community, but now it is a bilingual website, and you can find free resources there. You can have me give you a virtual concert or a cooking demo for your family and friends at your home. I can set it up as a fun online party. That's something that you can do. I also give piano lessons online. You can come visit me when traveling resumes to my Airbnb in Argentina. And I have a couple of doctors that are willing to provide the medical care if you come and want to do like a mini, living program where you would eat healthy and at the same time be under the supervision of a doctor. And just wanted to show you a few pictures of me, because sometimes I don't have a lot of pictures of myself when I was way overweight. And I want to show you, because this is something that works, and it's something that you can do for the rest of your life. And it's not, I think losing weight is a byproduct, which is wonderful, but the main purpose is to stay healthy, to get your immune system stronger, to get those arteries cleaner. And that's what a plant food diet does. So just so that you can see myself at points where you can definitely tell that I was about 70 pounds heavier. And that's the first time that I attended the McDougall program with Dr. McDougall. That's the picture where we went in the program in Hawaii. That's recent. And that's it. So just forgive me today. I wanted to just do a little introduction. From now on, every Saturday, we will just jump right in and get in the book. But I think that at the beginning, there are some things like this to take care of. And I think I have said everything that I wanted to say. We'll just get started with the book. If you haven't gotten the book, please get it, because I think you will get so much more out of it if you can read the chapters ahead of time. I usually have a highlighter and I highlight. You may want to have a pencil and make notes or write questions, because this is supposed to be interactive. So please bring questions. If I can't answer them, I will find the answer for you, or I will have a guest. We will have a doctor as well as a guest at one point. So make sure that you get either the electronic or the audio or the actual paper book. And today, what we're going to do is, and I'm reading your comments here. So as we move on, if you want to write questions or comments here, please feel free to do that. We are going to start really quick through with the foreword. and because I think that it's very well written. This is by Dr. Pamela Williams Russo, who is an MD. And at the beginning, she says that she first met Glenn in the year 1980 when it says, when I joined a vegetarian household in San Francisco, I was a vegetarian medical student and Glenn was a vegetarian aspiring stand-up comic. And so every day when I returned home from school, Glenn would pull out his shirt pocket pad, read me a new joke and ask me, is this funny? I was proud to serve as Glenn's official joke arbiter. So Glenn gave up the stand-up career because he couldn't take the smoke in the nightclubs, and went on to write plays and screenplays and television shows, books on health and the environment, and one very funny novel, which is about a vegetarian candidate for president. I went on to finish medical school and earn a master's in public health, did a residence and fellowship, and became board certified in internal medicine and rheumatology. So like Dr. McDougall, and I'm going to say a lot of this like Dr. McDougall, and you have to know that since I spent so much time with him, I have his words ingrained in my head. So like Dr. McDougall, here Dr. Russo, Pamela Russo, felt frustrated during her life as a doctor because she couldn't make people better. I mean, she could, if someone fell, well, yeah, sure, or if someone needed, deliver a baby or things like that. But for diseases like diabetes and heart disease and even cancer and obesity, all that, patients didn't get better. So it was frustrating. And she says, my inability to change their individual situations led me to leave clinical medicine and work at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, pursuing the mission of creating a culture of health. My medical school offered an elective course in nutrition. So we all know this also because Dr. McDougall tells us all the time that doctors, unfortunately, don't get any they don't get any courses. In this case, it was one course in nutrition, and it was elective on top of that, so you didn't have to take it. And the course was taught by Marion Nessel, the only nutrition education of the entire 4 years, and it was optional. As part of the course, we had to keep a 1-week food diary and then calculate the percentage of our diets that came from carbohydrates, proteins, fats. I was convinced that my diet was healthy, what with my large quantities of homemade yogurt and my consumption of cheese rather than meat. And so she was stunned when she found out that her diet was 60% fat. Remember that in the McDougall and in a plant-based diet, usually we're talking about 5 to maybe 15% fat. And so here you have 60% fat that she was consuming. So over the years, Glenn and I kept in touch, and she went to visit him in New York. They went out to dinner, etc. And finally, 2 years ago, she got results for cholesterol, and they were really bad. And so her doctor said that he wanted her to be on statins. And at that point, she says, I could have had a long discussion with him about going on statins and debated the risks of taking a drug that might give me abdominal distress, muscular pains, and other side effects. I could have called on any number of brilliant colleagues for their opinions, but I had a better opinion. But I had a better option. I called Glenn. He turned me finally not only into vegan, but into a healthy, low-fat vegan. In 3 months, my cholesterol was down 25% into the normal range, and it has continued to drop. So I wanted to highlight this, and what she's saying here, a healthy, low-fat vegan, because you may know vegans, maybe you are one of them, and we're not trying to, again, to pick on anybody or make anybody feel bad. But in one of the chapters of Dr. McDougall's books, one of the chapters is called The Fat Vegan, because, again, not to make fun of people, but to really accept the fact that you can be a vegan and eat only potato chips and Coke, because it's a vegan. And you can eat Oreos too. They are also vegan, and you can eat vegan ice cream, and you can eat, I mean, there's all sorts of junk food vegan that will keep you as sick and overweight and obese as people that eat a diet that is not vegan and is a bad diet. So the point here is to remember that we're always talking about a whole food, and that's the key word, whole as in entire, whole food, plant-based, and it's because it's whole food and plant-based, it's low fat. Okay, so do I mind that Glenn, in the pages of this book, lambasts the medical profession? No, he's often right, particularly about the overwhelming effect of culture and the assumption that to ask patients to make such a radical change in their diet would be asking too much of them. Medicine too often seeks a silver bullet. Diet takes more work. Like Glenn, I believe in prevention. So then she finishes saying, is your own health funny? Yes, it is. But it's also provocative, timely, cogently argued, and the dose of medicine that my profession may well need. It could also save your life. So she's also saying something that Dr. McDougall says very often, and many others doctors do too, and is the idea that sometimes doctors won't tell their patients about these other approaches of changing your way of eating because it's too radical, it's too difficult, it takes too much time. Instead of giving the patient the information and letting the patient make the decision, had I known this information way before, I could have made an intelligent decision and I would not have suffered for so many years. But that, unfortunately, is not the case many times. So that was the introduction. Now we're going to go through chapter 1. And I do want to mention that in this book club, we're not reading every paragraph and every word, because I'm assuming that you read it. So I highlight things that I believe are important, and then I'm asking you to, at the same time, write comments, write questions, so that we can all, like I said earlier, learn from each other. So chapter 1, what you need to know about what doctors don't know. So here is an author's note. And because we're in this pandemic all together in this world, I think Glenn added this. This is a very new book. I don't know if it came out this way or if he recently added it, since I got this just a couple of weeks ago. But guess what? Next week, you are going to see Glenn in person, well, here, because the author himself is going to be here. And that's going to be a great session to have him talk. And so he will discuss with us chapter 2 and perhaps 3. So your assignment, because remember I'm a teacher, is to read chapters 2 and well, we'll go ahead and read 3. So what does he say here on page, this is page, page 1. Okay. He says, most of the text of Own Your Health was written before the current COVID-19 crisis ravaged populations and economies across the world, creating a public health emergency more profound and devastating than anything any of us has ever witnessed. This book has nothing to do with COVID-19 crisis, and in a way, it has everything to do with it. And at first, thank you, Glenn. Glenn is here. He's watching me, so you know I'm a little nervous. I am talking here, and I know the author is watching me. So Glenn, please correct me when I say something wrong. The book was published with the author's note. Okay, thank you very much for saying that. I thought that was interesting that this book has nothing to do with COVID, but at the same time, it has everything to do with COVID. So let's start with how this book has nothing to do with it. The body of the text does not explore the nature of the virus or the nation's collective response to it. And then he goes on to really appreciate and thank and respect all the doctors and nurses and allied health professionals who have risen to the occasion with extraordinary bravery, despite often being shamefully deprived of sufficient personal protective equipment. So anyway, he just is talking about, so basically, this is not a book where we're going to be studying the virus and other areas of that subject. But again, here is how this book has everything to do with it. So on page 2, the second paragraph, it says, now allow me to mention how this book has everything to do with COVID-19 crisis. First of all, we know that the novel coronavirus takes a far more deadly toll on those suffering from obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease than it does on those of us who are healthy. And that is the current research. Yes, are there exceptions? Yes, there are exceptions, I'm sure. But for what we can see now, and we will have, like I said, a doctor in another session as a guest, for what we can see now, people that are obese or diabetes, or hypertension or have heart cardiovascular disease are having a lot more problems. Own Your Health is all about how to take your health into your own hands and avoid those things: obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, or cardiovascular disease. Those are, this book is about that. And then, of course, there is a big section with some of the best recipes that you can find available to help you get to this point. So if America's population were healthier, if the medical community had risen to the challenge of meeting our ongoing health crisis with a fraction of the urgency and effectiveness it displays now, facing down the pandemic, the death toll from COVID-19 in America would be greatly reduced. Yeah, because we would have less sick people. And then there is the very cause of the pandemic itself. Like other emerging infectious diseases like Ebola, HIV, H1N1, MERS, SRS, and more, it came from animals. And this is something that maybe some of us are not paying attention, but we do need to start thinking about this. Eating animals in the past, if you go, those people that say, well, yes, but, people, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years before they ate animals. Yes. I think Dr. McDougall himself said that there is not one known civilization that was 100% whole food, plant-based. But you had to go out and catch that cow or that chicken or that pig or whatever, and it may have taken days. And so it wasn't available every minute of every day in the supermarket, and it wasn't available in unlimited quantities. So what is going on now? Well, now what is going on is that we're raising animals for food in a very dangerous way, because there are thousands, if not millions, crammed in small spaces, getting sick, and these pathogens, they can and do jump from animals to humans. So it says here on page 2, at the very end of the last paragraph, there is no greater threat to the collective health of humanity than putting human beings, even a small number of human beings, in contact with unnaturally crowded populations of animals. Further, our prolific, indefensible use of antibiotics to fatten animals contributes to the emergence of antibiotic-resistant bugs. If everyone around the world ate the diet that this book advocates, there would be no COVID-19 outbreak. Add to that, to the list of benefits of the low-fat, plant-based diet detailed throughout this book. So that was the author's note, and it's very good. I think I approve. Glenn, you did a wonderful job. All right, so on page 3 now, it says, you may have read the boilerplate disclaimer on one of the front pages of this book. Most of these books, this type of books, even if they're written by medical doctors, have to have a disclaimer that goes something like this. It is recommended that you consult your physician before making any dietary changes. Glenn says, I wish I could also recommend that you ignore that advice, but when I suggested doing so, my lawyer threw a fit, and since he bills he builds his fits in 5-minute increments, I couldn't afford it. He also didn't go for the proposed alternative. It is recommended that you consult your plumber before making any dietary changes. Here's my thinking. Doctors generally receive little in the way of nutritional education during their 4 years of med school. Less than 20 hours, an average of over 4 years of medical education. That's about 5 minutes a week, rarely integrated in any way with clinical practice. 20 hours is less time than someone could spend reading, 2 or 3 weight loss books. And I'll bet the average plumber has read at least 3 or 4 weight loss books. So it really makes as much sense to ask your plumber for nutritional advice as it does to ask your doctor. Consult with whomever you trust on the subject. Just don't imagine that there's any sound reason to expect nutritional wisdom from your doctor. Nor, I readily acknowledge, should there be any logical reason to expect me, and I say me also, of all people, to have anything remotely useful to say on the subject of health. I have no formal medical education. I never even wanted to be a doctor. Biology was my least favorite subject in school, and I am squeamish around blood. My mother readily put all the trust in doctors. So What I'm going to do here, though, and it's not because I don't think it's important, but on page 4 and 5, Glenn talks about his mother and father and the story of how his mother put all the trust in doctors and his father was the opposite. But how in this really well told narrative here, they both saved each other. And so I encourage you to read this. That's why I want you to buy the book, because if we had to read every page, then this book club would last, 4 hours each session, and we only have 1 hour. So if you haven't read it, please read it. And we can have actually Glenn next week tell us a little, in a nutshell, what the story. And on page 7 now, I'm on page 7, the third paragraph, it says, my mother always credited me with lengthening her life. That was simply because I told her what she should and shouldn't eat. And because in her last decade of life, after I moved my parents to California so that I could take care of them, I often did their food shopping. She became willy-nilly a low-fat, whole-food vegan. She outlived her 5 siblings and virtually all of her friends. In her mid-90s, she would sometimes say to me, why am I still here? Because I do your shopping, he would say. So I do feel kind of the same with you, Glenn, because many times I do the shopping for my mother, and so I love to go grocery shopping. I don't know if you know this. There is actually a video in my YouTube channel where Chef AJ and I go to 10 grocery stores and we show you how to grocery shop, and that was fun. So you may want to watch that. That is free. It's in my YouTube channel. So he would tell them, because I do your shopping. Okay, when a medical procedure involves significant risks and there is an effective, perhaps even more effective, risk-free alternative, such as eating the way human beings are designed to eat, then run from the white coats and take your health into your own hands. I'm on page 8 now, the second paragraph, and it says, take my friend Thomas Calabro, for example. As an actor, he is perhaps best known for playing an evil doctor on the show Melrose Place. Let me make clear, Glenn says, that I don't believe that most doctors are evil, but the doctor Thomas portrayed apparently was. I wasn't watching. Please don't tell Thomas. He thinks I love the show. Okay. So he's a friend, and Thomas's cholesterol was over 200. He told Glenn. Glenn told him what to do to get cholesterol down. And a few months later, Glenn's friend called him and said, Glenn, I tried it and it just didn't work for me. I've got lousy genes. I've been 100% vegan for 3 months and I just had my cholesterol checked and it's still 201. Okay, so Glenn, I have to tell you that I hear this and it's frustrating. Okay, so because people are not lying, they really believe that they're following. I cannot tell you how many times Dr. McDougall told me that, how he knows that the patient is not lying when they say, I am following 100% what you're telling me. Well, in their minds they are, but if you could go to their houses, which is, virtually impossible, I can't go to all of your kitchens and look at what you have in the refrigerator. But in this case, Glenn could. So he went and he says, you're doing something wrong. So when someone tells me that, I don't like to say that, but in my head, that's the phrase. They're doing something wrong, because I have been to so many programs in True North and McDougall and many others, and this way of eating works 100%, well, 99.99% of the times. Okay, so if someone says that they're doing it perfectly and it's not working, there is something wrong. And so Glenn said, you're doing something wrong. I'm going to be there in just a few minutes. Okay, so Glenn was the refrigerator police. Okay, so he let me in. He said, I headed straight for the refrigerator and I opened it up. What do you got in here? What is this? I picked up a plastic container of something called Earth Balance, a butter substitute. That's totally vegan. We use it to bake cookies now. Where's your garbage? Says Glenn. Did I tell you to eat fake butter? No, but, well, where's your garbage? He showed me and I threw it out in the garbage. Hey, can't you at least ask me first? He said, I did. I asked where your garbage was. No, I mean, and what is this? Vegan sour cream? Give me a break. And so we rid his refrigerator and freezer of all these vegan junk foods, including the vegan ice creams. And then I asked him about the vegetable oils on his countertop. Mostly we use organic cold pressed olive oil, his friend said. You could hear, and I know when people say that, you could hear the defensive tone of voice, like, this is good. Did I tell you to use organic cold pressed olive oil? I asked. No, he admitted. What did I tell you? You said no oil. That's right, no oil. So give it another month. No oil, no fried foods, no junk foods, no vegan cookies. Eat only real. I want to highlight that, real plant food for 1 month. It's just a month. Oatmeal for breakfast every day with oat bran added and cinnamon and whatever fruit you want to put on it. Then check your cholesterol again. A month later, Thomas sent me an email. Not just me, but to almost everyone he knew. He had eaten correctly for a month, and now he didn't need to go on medication. His cholesterol went from a 2001 to 131 in 1 month. So he no longer had to worry about heart disease that plagued his family. Now, we may ask, come know nothing like me was able to do that for Thomas, but none of his doctors could do the same? It's a good question. I'm at a loss for words to describe the extraordinary nutritional ignorance of the majority of medical professionals in this country, and I might add in every country. Now, don't get me wrong, doctors sometimes save lives. As my mother proved to my father, if you get banged up in a car accident, American doctors will do a banged up job of patching you up and repairing your injuries. If surgery is required, most often you will find yourself in able hands. If you have a malignant tumor, and he goes on and on, yes, doctors will save your life. But what if, like a significant majority of the adult American population, you suffer from a condition either wholly caused by or aggravated by your diet? What if you suffer, that is, from obesity or type 2 diabetes or cardiovascular disease or hypertension or autoimmune disease, constipation, Crohn's disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or metabolic syndrome, etc.? For those chronic conditions, unfortunately, most doctors cannot do anything for you but put you on pharmaceutical drugs. These doctors are generally bright people. I actually have a daughter Now I'm talking Gustavo, who is in medical school. She's very bright. So these are bright people, and they're generally well-meaning people. It's just that medical school teaches them how to prescribe drugs and not how to prescribe fruits, vegetables, and whole foods for diseases that are caused by the lack of those things. It's just that they have no clue how to help you stay healthy or return to a state of health when you have eaten yourself into disease. So on page 11, it says the best way to own your health is to create a diet centered around the bountiful world of whole plant foods so that you don't get sick in the first place. He calls it food abuse, and I can't think of another. It's a very good term. So on page 11 as well, doctors are left with repeating many times this, unfortunately, this nonsense, things that they hear in the morning news or maybe on the talk radio show or something that they saw on a misleading scientific study, and they may say, well, just choose lean meats. I mean, this happened to me all my life until I finally found this way of eating. Eat lean meats, eat skinless chicken, get plenty of protein, eat low fat, avoid carbohydrates and things like that. Very vague. So let's see. I'm going to turn the page here to page 12 so that we can finish this chapter 1. And let's look at this, the last paragraph of page 12. It says they would be better off, and more importantly, their patients would be better off if they spoke the truth and admitted that they don't really know anything about nutrition and aren't qualified to answer any and advise patients to consider, to change their diet. And it says here, it would be better to advise their patients to consider picking up a book. And there are indeed plenty of helpful books out there, books like, Dr. McDougall books, Dr. Neil Barnard, we read one of his books in last year, Dr. Michael Greger, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Garth David, and there are a very big number of doctors now that have written very good books. See what those authors all have in common? They're all doctors, and unlike probably your doctor, they happen to know what they're talking about when it comes to nutrition. And on the larger questions involving nutrition, they have all arrived in difference to the medical and scientific evidence, as well as their own clinical and or research experience, at the same fundamental conclusion: eat plants. So, spurn flesh foods, dairy, and eggs, and do your utmost to avoid oil. They agree on those matters simply because they follow the evidence. They did not start their careers with opinions they now hold. Not one of them was raised in a vegan household or in a community of animal rights activists. Their opinions on meat, dairy, and oil are shared, I would venture to say, by nearly all serious researchers who view the scientific evidence without cultural or financial bias. Unfortunately, probably a minority of researchers fit that description. The resulting confusion in the world of nutrition research has likely left your doctor as flummoxed on the subject as your plumber. And I remember the times when I was trying to find something that made sense and reading one thing and then the next day another, and it's so confusing and conflicting that it can leave anybody going, well, I don't know. I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. So your doctor is not going to tell you to pick up a book, though probably. She or he is going to tell you to strive for a balanced diet, get plenty of protein, eat lean meats, favor white meat over red, eat sweets in moderation, go easy on the pasta, order the chicken salad in restaurants, don't drink too much soda pop, make sure to start the day with healthy breakfast, monitor your salt intake, watch your carbs, limit coffee to 2 cups a day, don't go overboard with buttered popcorn, and try not to eat right before going to bed. None of that is going to really solve your problem. And it says all doctors are trained in the field of sickness. Few know anything about health. If you want to have your best shot at long, healthy life, you're going to need to learn how to take your health into your own hands. Once you do so, you may still choose, as I do, to see a doctor on occasion. I usually visit once a year for an annual physical, mainly just to say hi and see how my doctor is feeling. I get my blood work done and make sure that my radical health program of eating human food is still working. So far, so good. That is the end of chapter 1. And to answer one of your questions here, yes, my mother is follows a whole food plant-based diet. She's 80 years old, and I'm jealous because she looks like she's 60. Many times people ask me if she's my sister. So she's very healthy. Let's see what else, if I can answer any questions. Glenn, you're so lucky your friends listen to you. Mine think I am crazy not to eat animal food and all. Yeah, well, Sarah, in most cases, actually, most of those doctors and chefs that I mentioned, believe it or not, their family don't listen to them. So if they don't listen to a doctor or to a dietitian or to a famous chef, there is something to say about when the student is ready, to learn, they will appear. You just cannot force knowledge to somebody. Okay. Someone says, I need a refrigerator police. Okay. Well, if I live near you, I would do that gladly. So thank you for helping me get into the book club. Okay. Hello. Very good. I reversed my heart disease, cancer, and obesity following McDougall and Chef AJ. I'm very happy for that, Linda. My husband and I are much healthier following the advice of Dr. McDougall. I am still struggling with an autoimmune condition. Oil is poison, hurts your heart, and increased cholesterol. Very good. Well, I appreciate you all logging in. Today was a little bit longer because we did an introduction at the beginning. Next week, like I mentioned, we will have Glenn, and the author of the book, as a guest. And I want to encourage you, any of you, if you go to, let's see here, page, what is this? Page 128. That's where the recipes start. If I want to encourage you to choose a recipe or maybe 2 this week and make it, and then tell us what you think. And I've had in previous book clubs, people send me a picture of what they made, and then I show it here. So if you want to do that, I'm not sure that I will, because next week I will be traveling back to my little mountain village up in the mountains of Cordoba, Argentina, and I'm not going to be able to cook. But after that, as you know, that I've done many times, I will hopefully be able to cook something, and maybe live, and you can see what I make. And if you haven't gotten my PDF, I created a PDF that is a gift, that was a holiday gift for 2020. And this PDF has invaluable material. Most of it is free. And if you didn't get that, I would gladly send it your way. You just have to send me an email at info@plantemus, that is PLANTEMUS, info@plantemus.com, and I will send you this PDF for free. And I want to tell you that I'm planning a really awesome event with Chef Sheida for Valentine's. It's going to be called Love and Friendship, a chocolate feast. She has like 6 recipes that she's going to show you how to make, and that involve chocolate, but it's whole food, plant-based. And it's not to eat every day, okay? But it's still much healthier than the regular alternative. And we will be doing that webinar a few days before Valentine's, so if you want to make any of those recipes. And then I will be performing some music that you can use if you want to then have a special evening or afternoon with a friend or your loved one. It's going to be called Love and Friendship. And I'm going to be announcing that soon so that you can join us. I'll be sharing the link. I think that was all for today, and I will see you all next week. Let's see if I have missed anything. So I'm going to say one more time, you need to, once you get your book, send the proof of purchase to Glenn by emailing him, gmerzer, GMERZER @AOL.com. Later on in the replay, it'll appear on the screen. Send him that. And in the subject line, either put Gustavo, or you may put Gustavo online club, okay? And then he will know that you are in this book club, and he will send you a PDF file with 25 bonus healthy vegan recipes. And then he will send you a private Vimeo video with Chef AJ making her famous carrot cake, which is not in the book. And besides the video, he will send you the PDF file with the recipe. You don't want to miss that, because not only does it look amazing, it's one of the best carrot cakes that you will eat. So he will send you that. And then after we're done reading the book, or you're done reading the book, if you send him an email telling him in a sentence or two which was your favorite chapter, he will enter your name in a raffle, and he will choose 2 names, and he will send you an autographed copy of his other book, which is called an Off the Reservation. So that's the email that you will receive with the replay. We'll have all this information there as well. And I will see you all next Saturday, and hopefully every flight and everything will go all right, and I will be broadcasting from my home in my little mountain village in Argentina. So thank you very much, everyone, and be healthy, stay healthy, stay with the book, make recipes from here. Remember, always make extra, put it in the freezer, because when we are hungry, I know for personal experience, we grab whatever we can, and it's always good to have something that is compliant and healthy. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for joining in.